Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 239 of Sold with Updike Pugh.
I'm Jeff Updike.
I'm Weston Pugh. Today we have a really great remodeled bungalow over in Waverly, 247 North Waverly. You do not want to miss that one. It's really cute.
It's a cute house. And in our second segment today, we're going to talk about, is it time to consider xeriscaping your yard?
My yard would answer the question for you.
One of your neighbors was really smart when they did theirs.
You know, after I got a $500 water bill last month, I think that there is something definitely in that. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. And that's like, what is that going to be, 3 months at that price amount? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. There's a lot of really great ways to do this. You know, in some areas, I think in Arizona, I think that is required. I do not believe you're allowed to plant grass.
I think you're right, and I think some of Las Vegas is also that way.
When we were in Palm Springs, xeriscaping was like the number one thing. And
Yeah.
if it wasn't that, then it was the turf grass. So what we like to do is talk a little bit about things that we see on trend and also kind of things that we saw out with our clients throughout the week and then kind of find some solutions. So let's take a look at what the first one is. This is actually plungypoolusa.com. So many times we're showing people houses and they don't have a pool and they're not sure if there's enough room. This is a really great company, and these pools are cement, not the fiberglass like you see so many of the others, and it's a one-day install.
Wow, that's amazing. I did like the fact that on their website they've got 4 different plans or styles, but they come in all these different colors.
I liked it. If you need a hot tub, they also have hot tubs as well, but it doesn't have to be a hot tub. It can be just even a smaller plunge pool. So you've got a courtyard, thinking about that. Even some of the xeriscape lots, I think that the way that these are configured, they work, and as you can see here, I think one of the things that really polishes them off is doing the right decking around these.
I would agree, and you know, if you've got a small backyard, it's going to be easier to put your sails up and figure out how to protect it. You know, like this year, so many people's pools have they've gotten to the point where they're unusable because they're 95 degrees now.
Absolutely. The other thing too is there's going to be a website we're going to post in the links. You can click on that. There's lots of reviews. So a lot of it looks like the developers and a couple of them here in Dallas are already using this company. So if you're looking for a solution, maybe because it's so fast, you can get it done in a year.
It's worth considering.
It is. And the next one, this is a group that's bringing a lighting company. It's called All Lead Home Intelligent. And I love this stuff because I feel like lighting is getting a lot more creative and affordable.
I agree. And this, you know, we've had some of our, like Dale has done some really interesting things with LED strips. These are basically LED strips within a container, but they are easy to mount, easy to connect.
Yeah.
They're really great.
Well, the other thing too is like Jack and Brian on North Haven, they did these under the sinks in the bathrooms, under the countertop, the cabinets, and it made a really great soft glow when we were showing. And then we've also, as you were saying, Dell does great lighting in closets. His closets look like $1 million. And it's his work, but he really focuses on lighting as well.
I agree.
And then this is the last one we're going to talk about. And this is utility room remodels, because I feel like in some neighborhoods at the age of certain homes, stackable washer and dryers is a real struggle for spacing. And I feel like so many times hands get thrown up in the air and they just say, just stick them in the hallway bathroom or just plunk it in a really cramped closet. And I think so much more can be done. And I think that the viability of a house that has this and resaleability would increase if just a little more thought is brought to.
You know, prior to the 1950s, they really didn't even have washers and dryers in the house. They had the washer out on the back porch, and then they didn't have a dryer. You had the clothesline out there. And now having to accommodate a lot of those older homes, this was a great solution, I thought.
The other thing too that I'm liking is that they have a lot of these hanging dry systems that actually kind of pull out and lock and allow you to hang elements and drape. And then when it's not in use, it slides back so that it's not in the way. There's a lot of like, one of the builders that we work with, Alex Dahlgren. Alex was always the guy that would measure exactly how big he thought like the hampers were going to be. And then all of his utility rooms were based on dimensions so that things could go in and out and life was easy. So
That's the right way to do it.
It makes a huge difference, and it doesn't matter if it's a $4 million home or a $450,000 home. This thought process goes the distance with buyers. It's just what we see, and so we thought we'd share it with you. You feel good about that, Jeff?
Good story, girl.
All right, tell us what's next, Jeff.
So now we're going to start. We're going to jump into Market Watch. I have my papers out of order. So we're going to jump into Market Watch this week. So this is our 1 week snapshot of Dallas County MLS information. It is compared week to week, every week. And our coming soons, we're down about 10%. That's the first status that properties go into MLS at. They don't have to. They can go directly in as active listings, but even those were down about 11% week over week. And then that first category that contracts go into, which is an option period, we're down about 2% last week.
And after the next category, after option period is expired, people are happy, we go into the pending status. And that's actually down 3% to 125, which is only 4 units over last week. But what we do see is that solds really jumped, and that's up 9% over last week, 292. Last week was 269. And so that's a really nice market update. What we're also seeing is that we had a small uptick in mortgages to 7.125. I believe we're seeing a lot of that due to the fact that there's that credit rating on the United States right now. So once that gets solidified and addressed, I think that we'll see that kind of bounce back down. The great thing about this is information that we can actually provide to you on any area that you're interested in, whether it's a school district that you're thinking about moving into, an area maybe that you're thinking about buying an investment property. We are easily able to do this for you. We can provide this to you through a portal. Great information on you to stay ahead of the curve and make really great decisions when it comes to buying or selling a home.
And don't not buy a home because of the interest rate right now, because what I foresee happening is we still have a limited inventory right now, but when we see that inventory grow, we see interest rates come down, there are going to be a lot of people that jump back into the market, and it's going to become even more competitive.
Right.
And I feel like pushing housing prices up even more. And you know, if you consider the cost difference of maybe having to pay on that mortgage for a couple of years, interest rates go down, you refinance, contrasted with what a value improvement that you've seen there, that does not make financial sense.
And trust us when you tell you there are pent up buyers right now like we have never seen before. And like Jeff said, at 5%, that will be a huge gold rush push to find these houses. And I think at that point, it's going to be, again, we're going to be leaning into cash is king. And that's just a tough for everybody. So take the small hit at the beginning and then refinance and make everything better later on.
Date the interest rate, marry the home.
There you go. Woof. At first I was like, what? I get it. Totally get it. All right.
So let's jump into our property this week. This is at 247 North Waverly. It is in the Oak Cliff area, and it is such a cute little cottage style home. And it's such a great neighborhood. I think I looked up the walk score on this, and it was in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken.
And for you to say that, what was it, 10 years ago, there was nothing that was in the walk score in the 80s in Oak Cliff.
Nothing.
And it has changed so much. If you're looking at Dallas and you're not sure about where would be a comparable area to Austin, this is one of your go-to neighborhoods. Lots of fun events, and we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. But as far as commuting, if you look right there, going north and south is really simple on Hampton. That'll take you all the way to turns into Inwood. Will take you right by Love Field Airport, but then it's also probably another 20 minutes and you could be at DFW Airport. So commuting, because you're on the west side of downtown Dallas, is much easier.
It really is, and you've got good streets coming in from the North Dallas area, because Mockingbird, Inwood turns into Hampton, which crosses 30. Mockingbird turns into Westmoreland, which also crosses 30, and gets you down into those neighborhoods.
So working in downtown is super easy. If you have to go into Arlington or you have to go to Fort Worth and reverse commute, this is a really great place because, again, we're on the west side of downtown, meaning there's not that traffic to get around.
And one of the things Weston was talking about a while ago is the vibe that you get in living in this community. This is one of the most active, and I'm talking about Oak Cliff, is one of the most active communities, areas that I've seen in a long time. I'm not sure that Lake Highlands even keeps up with this because of the variety of things that go on in Oak Cliff.
And they get the word out. And so one of the things that's on the horizon is called Oktoberfest, and that is coming up this in September the 24th. I'm not sure how many times they've done this before, but as you can see here, click on this link and you'll be able to actually go and buy tickets. This is like one of 3 or 4 different events. They have one of the largest Mardi Gras, which I've been to 3 years in a row now. They actually have Bastille on Bishop and Blues, Bandits, and Barbecue. So there is a lot to do, and this just really shows you how much people in this area like to get out. They are not homebodies in this area, for sure. They are not going to just sit on the porch.
And we reference this area as a lot like Austin would in Texas. I am sure this is like a lot of smaller communities in California as well.
Yeah, I like SoCal, yeah. 100% San Diego, the whole Hillcrest area.
Yeah.
So one of the other things too, if we're talking about the vibe and what to do over there, I would say that the majority of the people, because there's lots of bike lanes just in the streets, they're also going to be really taking advantage of the Oak Cliff Nature Preserve and the bikes. There are lots of trails. And
this is a really, really cool mountain bike park. I've done it 50 times, I would say.
You're kidding.
No, I really have. It has trails of varying degrees. It takes it takes you about 30 to 40 minutes to ride either one of those trails, either the blue one or the green one. Lots of Dry Creek riverbeds to go through, lots of small bridges across Dry Creek riverbeds, lots of small jumps if you're into that. It's a lot of fun.
Huh. Does Daryl go there still?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, if you need a riding buddy, call Jeff, and if he's not available, I won't go, but we'll get Daryl to go with you. So it'll be, oh, Zach, you go. You've got a bike. Zach will meet you guys there. So let us know. One of the things that Jeff and I got tickled at earlier today was that we were talking about the Henry's Majestic. And Henry's Majestic is actually in Uptown near Javier's, Caddy Corner to Chelsea's Corner. They are relocating into the Cliff, which I think is a great move for them. The space is huge that they're going to take over.
It is, and this is the old Chicken Scratch, the Foundry location, and has a huge amount of outdoor space, which the Henry's Majestic had a little bit of outdoor space, but it was right there on the street, and this is going to be so much better.
And the other thing too is I think Chicken Scratch, the Foundry, I think they were so far ahead of the curve. You were on Fort Worth Highway. It was actually a true destination if you were going to go there. Whereas now I feel like the infill of the area, Sylvan's 30 over there has exploded. That's just around the corner. All the living that's coming up from downtown right now. So this really should have a great takeoff. If you like that vibe but you want to stay in the neighborhood, this, my friend, is a really good go-to.
It really is.
Let's talk about
So
that
let's
house.
talk about that house. This is a cutie.
This is 247 North Waverly. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, just over 2,200 square feet, priced at $645,000, and it's been remodeled.
This is so cool. This is definitely a front porch neighborhood, and this is a house that has taken advantage of all of the front porch space that they possibly can.
It is. I love this front porch, and I thought, what a great corner house to be on. Great windows. The windows are new. We love that the windows were new. They've done a lot of the lighting to make that updated. And as you can see here, they've played with some really good tile work that's going to kind of like mirror itself throughout the house. I thought they had a really great theme. It did not look like it was like, I like this, oh, add this, add this. I thought it all flowed so well.
And I like the color palette they chose that they used on some of the surfaces. They went with a gray on much of it, but you've got those really vibrant orange and you've got this really cool green. This is the formal dining room, which is just off the living room we were just in. I really like the cove ceilings in both of those rooms. Oh, I'm sorry, it's even in the kitchen.
I love that.
I'd forgotten about that.
And it's so funny because I'm thinking about redoing the tile in my kitchen right now, and I love the fact that over here on the right-hand side, you can see the tile goes all the way up. I love that. These tiles are also what I would call like an artisan tile because they kind of vary in thickness. As you can see here, it gives them a more hand-tooled effect. The glazing is really great on these. And as you can see here, they perfectly frame this window with the 2 floating shelves. I loved it. I thought they nailed it. The buyers on this one, they get it.
Yes.
Sellers.
This is the one of the 2 guest bedrooms. This one is this is one of the 2 guest bedrooms. This is the other guest bedroom that's on the front of the house. And both of those bedrooms are really served by a bathroom in the hallway.
And then this is your master. And we know this is the master because it actually has the bathroom right there beside it. Great configuration. And then as you see, the tile that we were mentioning earlier, this is that same tile as I think the fireplace. If not, it's a shade of green that's a little bit
Very
different.
similar, yeah.
And they pulled it and kept it similar in this hallway bathroom that I thought was really great.
It is, and this is where they've put the washer and dryer in this home, and this one does fit in there. This is not the one we were talking about earlier in our beginning comments. Fantastic back porch, fantastic green space, and you got to love this house. This is a what do they call ADU?
They call this one a guest quarters in the description.
Guest quarters and a workshop.
Absolutely, and so this one has its own unit on the outside. It is a window unit, but it has fresh windows, new lighting. This is, you can see here, is your living room, and you have bathroom, walk-in shower. You also have a small kitchenette, and doesn't it have a dining room too? Just a room that could be the dining room, or sorry, the living room.
That's actually the bedroom.
Yeah. Okay. So it has two different areas. We were talking about this would be a great place to actually use as a second source of income.
It really would. So 247 North Waverly Drive is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's built in 1921. It's about a little over 2,200 square feet, priced at $645, which is a really great value at $286.92 a square foot.
And we'd like to say thanks so much to Emily Ruth Cannon and Michael Mahon for allowing us to feature this home. What we're going to do is in the comments, we're going to put the link to this entire house. Click on it, share it with your friends, families, and loved ones. Look at the pictures that we didn't use, zoom in and out on that map. And if it's something that you want to see, let us know. We'd be happy to make that happen.
And with that, we'll be right back. Did you know there are a lot of ways you can keep up with us? For starters, every Wednesday at noon, we host Sold with Updike Pugh, live from our Facebook and YouTube channels. Our show is dedicated to featuring some of the best homes in the Dallas market and about sharing timely information about market trends. But don't worry if you miss the show, because you can always listen to them on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify.
Still want more? Follow us on Instagram, where you get a first-hand look at what it's like to be a realtor. It's not always previewing homes for clients or getting them ready to go live in MLS. Lastly, visit our website and you'll be able to create a custom home search tailored specifically to your wants and needs that's timely and accurate. Whether it's square foot, location, or the neighborhood, we have you covered.
If you'd like to know how much your home is worth, we can help with that too. Just visit homeprice.fyi, enter a few pieces of information like your home address, and we'll email you a price. When you're ready to talk real estate, you can reach us online, by phone, or by text at 214-377-2223.
And remember, we want to be realtors for life.
Hi everybody, welcome to the second segment, episode 239 of Sold with Updike Pugh. I'm Jeff Updike.
I'm Weston Pugh. Today we thought we'd talk about, is it time to consider xeriscaping? What do you think, Jeff?
I think it is.
I think it is, because this heat is ridiculous, and I had a $500 water bill last month, and I'm sure it's not the last one for this year. There is a guy down at the end of the street that at first I was like, seriously, dude? But now I am a firm believer in what he has done.
Well, and water has become such it's become so scarce.
I would agree with that.
You know, we've had such growth in our area here, and you know they're not making any more water, so they have to keep channeling it and routing it and keeping it in a reservoir, and that's expensive and it takes a long time.
The other thing too, though, that we've seen a lot, and you know, we're not going to get into the whole global warming, but the change in weather patterns has really affected us, and I think right now what we're seeing is a huge impact, and that can be anything from the amount of sunlight and intensity to the amount of rain that we are or we are not getting, because we had a super wet June and half of July, and right now we are like in a Sahara desert. So that variable really does make it more difficult on plants, especially some of these delicate ones. So xeriscape typically can be a little more hardy, and so we'll get into that a little bit further down this topic.
So in Texas, primarily there are four types of grass that we use, and that is usually what I would say is the biggest culprit when it comes to water use in a yard. Yeah. In our market, we have Bermuda. This is very drought resistant. It's durable. It establishes quickly. It's good for high traffic areas. It's a pretty good general usage grass, but it still takes water.
What's interesting is that there is a Bermuda T14, and that one was actually designed in A&M. And so it's one of the more expansive and can handle, but it's a great grass. It does brown out a little bit when it gets hot like this. It's not dead, it's just gone like hot dormant instead of cold.
Okay.
What do you know about St. Augustine?
St. Augustine thrives in the shade. It establishes quickly, provides a lush appearance. It is horrible in high traffic areas. I have a dog run in my backyard where my dogs run from my back porch out to this storage shed that I have, where I'm sure there's some creatures that live underneath it that draw their attention.
Yep, and this is called a carpet grass, and this is actually requires a lot of water. And in some of the municipalities, they are no longer allowing this to be used in new home construction. It must be something of a more hybrid version that is actually drought resistant.
Zoysia is a third type of grass that we see a lot of builders using now because it is drought tolerant, it's got good dense growth. This does respond well when you've got high traffic areas. You know, no grass is going to be perfect, but you can get out and play on zoysia in the backyard and not worry about it being bald for the rest of the year.
Zoysia is one of those ones though that is finicky when you lay the pallets down. You really have to stay on top of this. When I laid my zoysia down at the condo, I actually laid it down in March, and Jason thought I was crazy, but I wanted it to get as much chance to establish itself before summer got here, and we watered it quite heavily, and it did fine. The last grass I want to talk about is buffalo grass. Buffalo grass is also a really great native grass. Sometimes I think we see landscapers, like if you used Hawker or one of the Southern Botanical, sometimes I believe the buffalo grass is the one that they're using, that they'll actually not mow it and yet rake it into small mounds and kind of grid out these mounds, and it is extremely sculptural at that point. I would research buffalo grass a little bit more before I decided to pull the trigger on that one.
Yeah, the buffalo grass tends to, the lifetime of it, the growing time of it is much shorter in the year. It goes brown quicker. It is horrible for high traffic areas, and that's why it's number 4 on the list as opposed to.
That's probably why they use it in areas that get zero traffic in it. The only person walking is your yard man.
So let's talk about xeriscaping. You know, xeriscaping in a lot of other markets has really, I mean, it's just become the norm there, and it is not here. We're seeing more and more of it. As Weston said, you know, there are some municipalities that are not even allowing certain types of grasses to be used.
And we've seen it already in the South and the Southwest, where you go into places like Phoenix and Southern Cal. They're not even allowing you to put in yards anymore. So it is straight xeriscaping, and sometimes their xeriscaping can be like 90% stone and rock formations. So we're going to talk a little bit more about like the ability to use plants throughout that will actually create life and color throughout the year.
So really to begin the process of xeriscaping, you've got to do some assessment and planning, and then as a part of that, you've got to do a design. This is one that I found that I thought was an interesting kind of both sides of the house xeriscaping.
And I would say that if this is the route that you're going to go, reaching out to a professional, paying the upfront $700 to $1,000 and getting this done is worth every single penny. Patrick Dickinson will put a link into his information. He's actually done this for one of our houses. I know that he's done a lot of award-winning work, and you'll find some of his work actually in some of the modern homes over there in Santa Fe.
He did the plan for Brian and Jack's house.
There it is. So great work. He can really help you. A lot of times what you don't realize is that a lot of the plants that they'll help you select will actually cultivate and bring in insects that are good, repel the bad ones, but also have the ability to bloom all year round.
So one of the next step that you is really begin removal of the existing grass. This is done with a tool that you can rent at Home Depot called a sod cutter, and then many times there are people that will actually buy this sod from you.
You're kidding.
Nope.
Did you sell the? So it's funny because Jeff brought this picture up, and I said, "Why did we take a picture of this? We could have just used a picture in your front yard." Because 15 years ago or 10 years ago, Jeff had a section of his cut out, made a really great flower bed, and put in a really beautiful fence on a horizontal, and it looks very similar to this. And now it has ginkgo trees, and it's got a really nice retaining wall, and it's all well done. But you saved a 20 to 30% of your yard from needing to be watered every day.
Absolutely, and. One of the other important things, which like you're talking about, is the irrigation. And irrigation is important because these plants still need to have some kind of water but they just don't need to have that much water.
Irrigation is critical because I think that we can go and also talk about like when we're setting up our new plants, those are really critical. Like your ginkgos are on bubblers, bushes may need to have a sprayer that's higher. So it is not just one simple sprayer that fits all. It does need to be figured out so that it doesn't spray on the house and rot out your brick. I know about that. They're just things that it take into consideration. And also in Dallas, you must pull a permit.
Yes. For a sprinkler system.
That is correct.
Not to redo, not to xeriscape your yard, just to do sprinkler work.
Yep. And as we talked about earlier, mulching is critical at this point. Living Earth is one of the places that can actually deliver in bulk. Patrick Dickinson, I'll mention him again because last year he told us, and we talked about this in the spring, that he found that on Home Depot he could actually have pallets of mulch delivered and that they were the exact same cost. And what was great about those is if you're in an area where it's difficult to walk, it's throw over your shoulder to get to it. But also mulch does not have to be just out of wood chips. It can also be out of stone, as you saw there. We also see creative elements used in certain areas that use recycled tires. And one of the really expensive mulches here that we see in Texas is actually pecan hulls because they're actually wood.
And I wanted you to see this photo, and we'll roll to the last one in just a moment. But this shows you the softness. A lot of times people think of xeriscape and they think, oh my gosh, it's just these hard areas and it's just rocks and it's just cactus. It is not. This demonstrates what some of the softness is you can have, some of the color you can have, and the beauty of xeriscape.
So my favorite right there, just hold on real quick, Zach, go back up. The actual heather grasses, those heather grasses, and then also cotton candy grass. Those things right there get to the right height. Those are on the right-hand side, just diagonal that way, or that way. Those are actually have really great movement when the wind blows. I think they're fascinating. They actually look amazing on the grid. I'll say it again, but they have a sculptural component when there's enough of them in place.
I would agree. And so planting and maintenance is really key to making sure that the xeriscape stays looking the way that you want it to.
I would agree. The other thing too that's key in this whole keeping it the way you want to, working with a professional and not buying what you think looks pretty at that moment, but establishing something that's going to look good year round and is also going to work for our zone. If it doesn't, you get a one cycle and then you get to replace that.
And the last point is the adjustments that you have to make, which is kind of what Weston was talking about, where don't pick that plant that you feel is going to look the best right there right now, because your xeriscape, if done well, is going to bloom year round.
Absolutely. Better the Brian Jack's other house. I'm sure that Patrick did that too. They really worked well to make sure that it bloomed in the spring, the summer, and the fall. And I thought that was great because it was on the corner right there at Midway and Better. And it was just like one of those houses like, oh, did you see what's in bloom now? It's the purple sage that they put rod in, or it's the actual agave that are blooming. It's just so well thought of.
And depending upon the size of the land that you're using and the amount of plants that you're using, you can save up to 70% of your water usage just changing over to a xeriscape.
We didn't talk about? We didn't talk about the xeriscaping and for a bocce court.
We didn't.
I am in love with a bocce court. I need one in my yard. I have a perfect little spot for it, and I would save so much money.
So I hope you found that helpful. If have any questions about it, just reach out to us. We'd be happy to answer them. If you have any other topics that you'd like us to discuss, let us know, and we will do that.
Yep. And just remember, we want to be realtors for life.
When you're ready to talk real estate, you can reach us online, by phone, or by text at 214-377-2223.
And remember, we want to be realtors for life.